Thank you all for coming here to hear my talk and all the other great talks. For the next 15 minutes, I am going to tell you a story about a game that I made in 2021 and my journey primarily in marketing that game and building a community around it, and how that journey actually led me down a path of raising $1 million of venture capital to start my game studio. And so that company is called Magic Circle. Our mission is to help make games that help people nourish relationships. And so we're doing that by creating a new generation of mobile party games that kind of help people express themselves, laugh, and be silly. So like vibes-wise, you can kind of think of like the intersection of Jackbox and Mario Party and Codenames, something in that constellation. I've been working on games in my spare time for pretty much my whole life. Only more recently, I've started working in the space professionally, initially at Google as a product manager, and now with Magic Circle. We're based across the bridge in Oakland. And a quick shout out to anybody here from the East Bay. Could you like raise your hand if you're from the East Bay? So the game that I made is called Truffle Hogs. It is a mobile party game for up to 8 people. And in the game, everyone plays as a pig. A colorful pig with fun little hats. And you are trying to run around and collect the most truffles. And there's lots of emotes and hats and colorful cosmetics and things. And this was primarily a solo project. I was the only developer with some great help from friends doing sound and art, particularly my girlfriend who is in the audience and now my fiance. So this game, tens of thousands of people ended up playing this little game that I made during the pandemic. Full disclosure, I'm pretty sure this is just the strategy charts, not like the all overall like games, but still, I mean, like PUBG is on the same screen full, so that's kind of something. And so this is kind of the story of how I was able to get people to care about this game and play it while spending absolutely no money at all on advertising. Let's kind of rewind back, that's the word, to 2021. To COVID, to more face masks than I see around here. And Among Us was kind of really blowing up. It got to 500 million players just a couple months prior, and TikTok was really taking the US by storm. I had just quit my job and I was working on a new game. This is a screenshot of what it looked like when I showed up to TikTok, or like a GIF of it. This is the game that would become Truffle Hogs, the game on the previous slide. At this point, the game was sort of playable, but it was not very fun. It looked very ugly. The truffles kind of looked more like poop than like the chocolate truffles we ended up pivoting to. But it was a game. And I thought, you know, I want to share this with the world. I want to see if anybody else would care about this thing. And so I made a TikTok. Of course, when I showed up to TikTok, I didn't have, you know, whatever that number is, 227,000 followers. I had 0, and I had 0 views. I actually have basically no meaningful social presence on the internet except this and I guess my Twitter. But this was really my first foray into making content. And I eventually hit upon kind of a winning content strategy for this game that I'll show you. You ever read something and think, I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but I have to see what happens? Because, yeah, that was me with this idea, and you can judge for yourself. Hey, if you're new here, we're making a game called Truffle Hogs, where everyone's a pig and you fight with your friends over buried truffles. While I'm developing the game, I've been adding your suggestions for what hats and colors and new things to add to the game. The game's not out yet, but it will be free, and you'll be able to play it on phones, tablets, and computers. Cringe aside, I made a lot of those things. I made them basically one a day for many, many months. And there's a couple things to point out here, especially if you're not super versed in the TikTok-averse. First of all, it's a time lapse, which is kind of intrinsically interesting to watch, even if you have no idea what my game's about. And you'll notice I actually spent very little time talking about my game. So that's number one, is make a video that's interesting in its own right. And two is the video is actually a reply to a comment. So the video is actually a reply to a user who had suggested, hey, I've seen other videos that you've made where you're adding hats to your game. What if you added this hat to your game? And so that creates this kind of like viral flywheel of interaction. This is an example of one of those comments that somebody leaves on my videos. I've been asking for a really long time, please do a cheese hat. And people got really, really into it. Here are some more desperate pleas for various hats to add to the game. Some people got really, really desperate. I just want to point out this one on the far left. They did not copy and paste the request for the lemon hat. The spelling is a little bit different. Sometimes there's an extra S. This person sat there and typed it in every single time. And so clearly I was hitting upon at least something that was resonating about the videos, if not yet the game itself. I was not only like making these videos and participating in this kind of flywheel, I was also really being part of the community and like talking to people in comments. The first like 30 minutes you upload a video is like the best time to engage with your audience because it really incentivizes people to comment and have a relationship with you. I also saw threads like this. This is basically somebody tagging their friend being like, this looks cool, let's play this. And so I'm like, okay, maybe they're not just excited about the time lapse of me in Figma desperately trying to make hats. Maybe they're actually excited about playing the game. And so I was like, okay, now what do I do? So the amazing thing about TikTok is you can show up as an absolute nobody, such as myself, who had no following, no idea how to make videos, and somehow they will put you in front of hundreds of thousands of people. But there's really no way to reach them again. It's kind of just like this magical blow in the wind where they show your stuff to people, but there's no real way to reach back out to them. So I was like, I need to have a relationship with these people. I need to talk to them. I need them to ultimately play my game. So this was my big brain idea. I was gonna take all the users from TikTok and put them on Discord. Of course, if anybody knows anything about Discord, you know that's a horrible idea because a Discord full of the kinds of people that leave the lemon hat comment is probably not a Discord you want to spend a lot of time in. And so I thought I'm gonna be really judicious about who I let in here. I'm going to make them all apply to join the Discord. So I had this like really long playtester application and I got a lot of responses to it and I got all these data and I literally went through every single one and I rated them based on how likely I thought the person that responded to this field would be like a productive member of my Discord community. And sure enough, there were people that put poop in every single field. How old are you? Poop. What are you excited about the game? Poop. And you know, I don't want those people in my community, so I was able to filter them out. And I picked the top 25, and those people formed the core nugget. Actually, at least 6 of these people are still active in my Discord today, more than like a year and a half later. So there was something really special about these first 25. I made the game in Unity. At the time, it was a web-based game. So I was using Unity's tool where you can like export to web. But I very quickly realized that my users did not care about a web-based game, at least these users. They really wanted to play it on mobile. So I ended up pivoting it to mobile along the way. I got users involved. I actually wrote a bot to collect survey data from them. I love data. And all was well. I had people initially playing the game. I had actual people, not just people I was forcing in my real life to play the game and getting feedback. So I thought, this is great. I want more of this. How can I 10x the number of people here? So basically what I did was I went back to the same list and I just lowered my threshold. I said, okay, still I don't want the poop in every field people, but I'll take some people that maybe didn't write a full essay on why they want to play the game. And those people ended up being totally fine too. And they actually became a pretty, tight-knit community. People who were playing the game mostly only when I was there to kind of administer it, but there was still the buddings of a community. This is a person who would later become a mod who was from Sweden and just made everything about Sweden all the time. So we ended up making a little Discord bot that just like spams the Swedish emoji or the Swedish flag made out of the faces of the pigs in the game. Anyway. The really cool thing was this was the part of the community life cycle where the playtesters started having like ideas of their own, even without me. So this person, not a mod, but I know that they live in Estonia, and there were a bunch of European people in the server, and I woke up one morning to all of them conspiring to crash my game. Of course, in the spirit of like QA, like free QA, like we're gonna file bugs, don't worry. And this was what they did. They literally like figured out how to like maximally like fill up the board full of buildings so that you could potentially have the hope of crashing the game. And I thought this was like, interesting and also incredible free QA. That was like, as a team of one doing the Discord and the development and the TikTok, having the free QA hours here was incredible. They also, this is somebody who like took a screenshot of the game and photoshopped it to remove the default hat. and made it as a blank template. So anybody can make their own hat, which I thought, that's genius. You've totally disintermediated the entire point of my TikTok channel, but great, you're doing it in Discord, so I'm still getting engagement. And they made a whole channel just for posting hats of pigs that were totally unauthorized. And they made dozens and dozens and dozens of them. And this is great because it was a way for people to participate. I didn't have to have the obligation of putting these in the game, and all the people that wanted to participate could. So I thought, great, this is awesome, let's do more. Let's open the floodgates. So 10xing it again. And the way I thought about doing that was I said, okay, no more filling out a survey. I want anybody and everybody, but I need to have a good moderation team in place for this to work. So I opened up a form for the people in the channel to begin with, the 250 or so, and I said, any of you guys who want to be a mod, please fill out this form. And sure enough, they did. And I did the same thing. I scored their answers based on how likely I thought they would be to be a good mod. And I interviewed them, and I picked the top 5. And I wrote them a moderator guide, and I'm like, listen, you know, I picked people in different time zones because I didn't want to get woken up when somebody's posting something inappropriate on the server. And this is critical, I made them their own group chat where they could discuss things kind of without me needing to be there in the room. And so while all of this is going on, of course, I'm developing the game. And at some point, I realized, like, this game's pretty close to being able to launch. Like, I've gotten at this point probably hundreds, maybe thousands of QA hours. I've had, you know, 10,000+ games that people have, like instances of the game that people have played, and I have pretty good confidence that it works on Android, it works on iOS, I have lots of data, and so let's launch it. So I launched it, and this is a screenshot of why you should do the pre-order system on iOS. I did a simultaneous launch on iOS and Android. It says pre-order. It's a free game, but Apple uses this term, and Google does the same thing, to basically allow you to pre-download a game. If you don't know this, it's a huge pro tip, because when you do that, everyone who's pre-ordered the game gets the game auto-installed by their operating system, and they get a notification when the download's complete, so they can all join your game at once, which creates this big spike in activity. And so this is the only graph I could find from launch day. This is, I'm pretty sure, just Android users, but you can see it was like people all around the world, mostly the US, very skewed towards English speaking, which is where my TikToks could reach. And I had a big celebration. I ended up sending stickers to the most active users in the Discord. And the community celebrated by making fan art, some of which is actually pretty good. The other thing to point out is about the reviews. The game has really positive reviews, not critical reviews, but reviews, you know, from the App Store. And if you read the reviews, whenever I read them, I feel like my grandma wrote this, because they're like, oh, Avi, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I've seen you on this journey. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. And it's like some random kid from like Estonia maybe who followed along on the journey, and they're really, really big supporters because they didn't feel like they were getting marketed to, they were being part of a community. I reflected on this, where do I go from here? I spent a lot of time writing documents and thinking about, what did I hit upon here? Like, is this just a fluke? Is there something interesting here? What is the kind of work that I want to do that's at this intersection? And what is the world hungry for? And I ultimately kind of came upon this thesis about magic circles. I certainly didn't coin the term, but as I view it, it's kind of this thesis I shared earlier about helping people bond through playing casual social games. And in order to pursue that, I was like, look, I need a team. In order to have a team, I need money, and at this point I was just living off of savings, and it had been about a year, so my savings were starting to run dry. And so I talked to a bunch of people, and they were like, look, the thing that you're doing is kind of an investable thesis. And so I ended up going down the path of raising venture capital. This could be a whole talk. I'll just say 2 quick things. One, yes, it is possible to raise venture capital for game companies. People do it all the time. But the most important thing to recognize is that they are not investing in a game. They are investing in a company, and they're only going to invest if they believe that your company has a chance at venture scale returns. That's just like venture capital 101. And so if you really believe in your heart of hearts that the business that you're building is actually compatible with that kind of financial thesis, then that's totally a path. And there's lots of pros and cons relative to kind of the more traditional publisher route. And then the second just quick piece of advice I have about raising money is find investors that believe in you because they believe in you, and your vision, and not because you successfully told them the vision that they told you they wanted. If I had a nickel for every time I pitched someone and they're like, this is great, but like, tell us it's crypto, because then we'll invest in you. And I'm like, it's not crypto. I mean, nothing against crypto, but like, seriously. So finally, I raised the money. I put together a website. This is a screenshot of our studio website. You can all draw your own circle. It's kind of the joke is that, like, you know, the magic circle can be drawn by anyone. And this is a screenshot of the internal tool we have to view all the circles. And lots of circles have been submitted. And my last quick thing is we are now hard at work. My teammate Rob, who started 2 weeks ago, is here. And you can come work with us if you want to come along this crazy ride and make games that hopefully change the world by helping people have fun together. And that's my talk.